Hey there, Regina Anla here, and it is time for Coffee with Regina. And today I have my friend and colleague, Terry Wildemann, with me. And Terry is on the move. Welcome,
I,
Terry.
I am.
So Terry is in
I,
a car today, and no, she is not driving, just for the record.
oh, I'm not driving. Oh, I could be in one of those driverless cars.
So, right nowadays, let me tell y'all a little bit about my friend Terry here. Terry is the founder of Intuitive Leadership, and she is the creator of the SHIFTology process, which is wicked cool. And she helps CEOs, executives, and entrepreneurs who haven't achieved their wow. Say that 10 times fast. Apparently, I've already had too much coffee this morning. She helps CEOs, executives, and entrepreneurs who haven't achieved their goals yet figure out what has been missing in their lives. She's known as the intuitive truth detective. She discovers your blocks. She helps you overcome obstacles, and she helps you achieve your highest potential using her Shiftology Accountability Method. And so we're going to chat way more about that because this is so interesting. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
I am so excited to be here. I'm so glad we were able to make this work. It's been planned for quite a long time.
I know. Last minute thing had to happen. And you know what? This
Sure.
works fine. And for everybody who's checking in here, if Terry breaks up, don't worry. You know, she's on the road. We'll just shift. You might just see her image go off. That's okay because we can hear her just fine. And this is going to be a great conversation. So let's, you do all of this stuff with leadership. Let me ask you this question. What does leadership mean to you?
Oh, what a great question. Leadership is being able to take action, take charge, and do what's right for the people who are working with you. To me, and I've always been a leader. I've always taken action. I've never been scared to not take action when I see something that needs to be done. And it's always about having my team, my people front and center. Uh, when my very first job out of college, I was a dining room manager for assistant dining room manager for a restaurant that was owned by the Marriott Corporation, Charlie's Place, 7 steakhouses. And the manager, the dining room manager, was one of my friends from college also. So we both got jobs and we both were hired as waitresses. And one of the things that was interesting was that between 3 months, she was then promoted to manager, dining room manager, and I was the assistant. Our leadership styles were incredibly different. With her, leadership was about walking around, swinging the keys, showing the world, I'm in charge. Oh my gosh. For me, when the days that I was the boss, so to speak, the keys were in my pocket. No, all people saw was this woman in a long gown, because we had to wear long gowns as the hostesses in those days, helping everybody else do their job well. I was I was bussing. I was making sure meals were delivered. I was making sure that everybody was able to get things done so we could all get out at a great hour, because sometimes we wouldn't get out until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And helping other people thrive was part of who I was. I didn't know any better. That's just what I always did. And one day I happened to look at the schedule, and I was just standing there, and everybody was scheduling themselves for the days that I was the assistant dining room manager. And I'm looking at it, and of course, I'm in my early 20s. And I happen to say out loud, why is everybody scheduling on the days that I'm on? And the guy who was the head server took a good look at me and said, are you kidding? People want to be on when you're there because of how you treat your coworkers and how you help them. And we are a true team.
That's a
And
powerful
that's what
lesson in your 20s.
it was. And that's when it really clicked that I was onto something just because of who I was.
Yeah, that really is. It's a powerful lesson when you're in your 20s to learn that, to
Yeah.
learn and understand that, no, to be a leader, we always say lead by example, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're walking around swinging your keys and, hey, I'm the boss, I mean, that to me is not a leader. That's the anti-leader. It's
Exactly. It was, I'm the leader and you're here to serve moi. It was such a
yeah,
power trip. And I thought, oh. And she lost my respect. She really did. She was a good friend, but she lost my respect. And that's the thing. She wasn't respected
yeah. And
because of the way she
when you
was.
think about all of that, what you've learned in leadership, and I know you work with CEOs and entrepreneurs in the entrepreneurial world. So I mean, as a solopreneur, where does leadership fit in? I mean,
Oh,
I,
if
I,
this
I
is
work for myself. I'm my own self-proclaimed leader.
okay. Well, I'm going to give an example of just our relationship, Regina. Okay. How many times have I reached out to you with an AI question and you've been right there to help me? That's a form of leadership because superior customer service is a form of great leadership.
Mm,
Caring for your customers, caring for your colleagues, caring for your family without, by the way, without losing yourself is a wonderful form of leadership.
mhm.
And to me you're one of the ultimate leaders because I know I can trust you. I respect you. I can go to you for help when I need it. And that's leadership. That's
Mm.
leadership. You set the stage for that.
No, I appreciate that and the way you phrase that because I didn't really think of leadership that way.
Yeah.
I think of leadership, that traditional, you were 20 years old, you were leading a team and participating and helping them be their best so the team as a whole succeeds. To me that I grew up corporate when I spent so many years in corporate before, it's been a long time since I've been in corporate, well over
Yeah.
20 years now. But when I was in corporate, it was all about leadership. That's my impression of leadership. When I
Yeah.
think of the word leadership, I think of that corporate leadership. So you actually just reframed leadership a little bit for me.
Oh, really? I'm glad to hear that because, leadership to me is about guiding people, whoever they are, to harmonize the practical, the tactical, and the logical with the emotional, the energetic, the spiritual, and the intuitive. And
Mm,
when you merge it all together, it's whole leadership. My business name is Intuitive Leadership. And the reason I call it that is because so many leaders ignore their intuition. So let's say you're a parent and intuitively you just know something's going on with your kid. You can feel it. All of us who are parents have had that experience. When you learn to ask the right questions, when you learn to step into that openness and heart centered space and ask questions that make your child feel safe, isn't that what we do for our employees?
that's true. It's true. And when you think about, we talked about leadership. Now, intuitive is a whole nother thing. I mean, how many times have I done something where in my gut it was like, don't do it. You're going to regret it. And sure enough, I regretted it. And, it was like that intuitive piece. I think so many people do ignore it and go, well,
Yeah.
I'm just going to go do it anyway.
hmm And that's why I teach what I teach, because intuition, we are born with our intuition. It is a gift, an absolute gift. Whether you see images, clairvoyance, whether you hear words, clairaudience, whether you feel things, clairsentient, or you just know things, claircognizance. Okay, all of those are different ways that we get information, and when you merge that with what you already know on the practical and tactical side, you become magical. You become Merlin the Wizard because you can manifest just about anything when you listen to your intuition. And yes, what you just stated, that you don't listen to your intuition, a lot of that is fear because we've been indoctrinated from the time we were little kids to follow the rules. Follow the rules.
Follow
No,
the
that
leader.
follow
Fo-
the leader.
Follow the
You
leader, and
know,
the leader's not always right.
that's exactly right. And if the leader isn't right and your gut is churning and churning and churning and you're scared to ask a question and you're having a meeting, for example, at work, and something is going on, and whatever the issue is, and your gut is churning because you see it differently, and you're too scared to voice your opinion.
Mm,
Shame on the leader who has created a culture that doesn't allow his or her team to express what it is that they are sensing. Because leaders, managers who allow their people to work with all of their skill sets build better products, better systems,
mhm.
better services. And those leaders are the ones who rise to the occasion and shine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you just brought like some thoughts into my head about different things. One of them is, conversations that we've had about, when you're working with somebody, whether you're working with a coach or somebody else, and just something doesn't sit right. You know what? All of us coaches who are out here, basically sharing the knowledge and helping you. A coach is just somebody who's a few steps ahead of where you are. I mean,
Yeah,
they could be a lot of steps ahead, but I mean, they're just ahead of where you are.
that's
They're
right.
not perfect. They're not God. They can make mistakes too. And I mean, this is why I created the unicorn factor as well. It's because it was a pet peeve of mine. There were all of these coaches out there saying, do what I do. I'm telling you, this works. And I'm like, okay, it works for you. I get it. For me, it's not working so well.
Right.
I need something unique and authentic to me. It doesn't feel right. So if it doesn't
Right.
feel right, I'm a hard stop.
Yeah. No, I get it. And, I muscle test everything. If people want to learn how to muscle test, they can go to YouTube and look for Dr. Bradley Nelson. And he's got a whole series on muscle testing. And I'm certified with him in emotion code and body code. And I use emotion code and body code to help clear all of the emotional baggage that is in the way of creating your success. And when you are petrified of using your intuition and you are being you're listening to a coach who's basically saying things and your intuition is screaming no, muscle test it, and if it
Right.
comes up no, trust it, because
Right.
if you go into it, if you do it, chances are whatever it is that coach asks you to do, if it doesn't feel right for you and you do it, it's not necessarily about fear. It's just not meant to be for you at this space in time.
Right, right. It was funny when you're talking about muscle testing. A lot of people might not know what muscle testing is. I use muscle
Right.
testing too. And I learned a muscle testing thing years and years ago, and I love muscle testing. I have a chiropractor who does everything through muscle testing. And
Hmm.
I mean, it's
Hmm.
amazing what you can see, right?
It is.
And so, one thing that I learned a long time ago was just going like this. So, and just,
Yes.
yeah, my name is Regina. My name is
Hmm.
Regina. And if I I'm pulling. And if I say my name is George, my name is George, my name is George, yeah,
It
uh,
doesn't hold.
it won't hold. And I tell people just try it, and they're like amazed when they're like, and I
Exactly.
said that's muscle testing. I said, and you
Yeah,
can do it with anything. Is this right? If it releases, it's not right.
that's exactly right. And another technique, which is some people find easier, and it's all muscle testing, is the sway test. And again, just go to YouTube, type in sway test, and there's all these practitioners who teach you how to do the sway test. And because your body actually knows before your brain does. It's all energy. Everything is energy, and your body will always tell you right from wrong.
Yeah, I think that's why you and I connect so well, because I'm everybody who's ever heard me talk on Coffee with Regina, anywhere else, I always talk about energy. Everything is energy.
Everything.
And it's
Didn't I,
neither created or destroyed, it just changes form. And once you really own that and understand how it works, when something isn't quite right, I automatically go to, what is the energy behind this? And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, the energy, it's pushing me away, or there's something that needs to be adjusted, or what is it that isn't right about it? How do I bring it back together instead of going like this? How do I
Can
connect
I
it?
share a story about this,
Absolutely.
which is really cool? Okay. I'm Cuban. I'm Spanish and Cuban. And my uncle, my great uncle, was a radiologist. And he was also very intuitive as well as very practical and tactical. And way back in the mid 90s, when I was going to be a Reiki master, I was petrified to share with him that I was studying Reiki, which is all energy, right? So I walk into his house in Florida and I said, well, Dio, uncle in Spanish, Dio, I'm studying this thing called Reiki, and it's all about energy. And he just lit up like a Christmas tree. I didn't know if it was a good thing or bad thing at the moment. And all of a sudden, in Spanish, this little Cuban man who is a radiologist, and remember, radiology is nothing more than energy taking pictures of the body. Okay, you're taking pictures of the body. And he's like, Ana Teresa, which is my first name in Spanish. Ana Teresa, todo es energía. Everything is energy. And he goes running around the kitchen, touching the countertop, touching the cabinets, picking up the glasses, running through the house. I had to follow him into his office. He's touching everything in the house, from the baby grand piano to the dining room table to the couch to the pictures. Everything is energy. Todo es energía, Ana Teresa. Todo es energía. And I just sat there in absolute shock that my uncle used to tell me about everything that I did wrong. I think for the first time in my life was in my camp. And it was really that this man, and by the way, he won third prize in the world for his study of breast cancer
Wow.
all those years ago, and several decades ago. And the man was absolutely brilliant. And he wrote a book on the ESP of Jose Marti, the ESP of Jose Marti. And one of these days I'll read it. It's in Spanish. It takes a little bit for me to get into that. But it was a fascinating story and a fascinating validation that here is this doctor who validated what I knew to be true.
Right.
And it really meant an awful lot to me. And I'm sharing that story so that your folks realize that if this scientist is saying that, there's uh, validation behind everything that you and I are talking about.
Right.
You know,
So when you think about intuitive leadership, you put the two things together, it's like it's really it's leading from your energy.
it is. It really is.
Yeah.
And again, everything is energy. And when we choose, and here's something that I think is very powerful. When we choose to live in the world of judgment and skepticism, more of that is going to come to you. When you choose to live in the world of positivity and everything goes right for me, more of that comes to you. Case in point, you and I, you've given me wonderful feedback on my website with this new card deck project that I'm doing. Well, what I learned was when I was working on it 2 weeks ago, I would keep changing this piece on my website, and I would go and hit publish, and it wouldn't let me. Just wouldn't let me. I'm like, okay, what in God's name is going on here? Somebody trying to tell me something? And I went back in and I said, am I being told to change the text on this button? And I went in and I changed the text, publish, bam. I'm like, oh, for crying out loud. Really? And that happened over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And when it would not publish, I knew that there was something that had to be shifted.
Mhm.
And it was all the buttons needed to be a little bit different. It's like, okay, all
Um,
right, I'm listening. I'm listening.
it's so true because you think about that, and we talk about intuition, we talk about stuff being all internal. It shows up externally. So call them your guides, call it your intuition, call it whatever you want to call it. But there is something out there that is pointing you in the right direction. And when you get that feeling in your gut that, well, I want to go work with this coach. but something doesn't feel quite right. Or I want to go create this new program, but something doesn't feel quite right about it. I literally just did that the other day because I'm working on a new program with all of the AI stuff. And I put an entire outline together. I created the whole thing. I'm reading it through. And all of a sudden it like just hit me. And I was like, it's just something not right about this. And I was like, yeah, no, it's not right. And then I went in and I redid it and I was like, yeah. And then I changed the whole thing completely around. And I was
Yes.
like, now it feels right. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, there was something wrong with
And you
it because
feel it in your body, don't you?
wait, so because I'm listening to it now. But
Yes,
you'll see it,
exactly.
you'll see it, you'll feel it. Today
Yeah.
I'm one of my emails for whatever reason on my phone decided that it needed to reauthorize, and it won't. It's fine on my computer, and so password's right, everything's good. But on my phone, it keeps saying nope, can't authorize. And I'm like, okay, so what is it about my phone? I'm like, you know what? I'm just let it go. Let it go. When it's ready, it will be
It'll
there. For
happen.
some reason, it just
It'll
doesn't want to
happen.
be there right now. Just let it go. Instead of sitting there, when you try to push at something, especially
Yes.
energetically, you push it. The more you push it, the more resistance you get.
Yeah. Well, remember we were talking, you and I were talking in a group that we were in about the word resistance,
Mhm,
resist.
mhm.
And when we keep resisting that something isn't working, we're making it bigger.
Yeah.
We're actually making the not working a lot bigger. And when you do that, it can get you into trouble. So instead of resisting, what you just did was surrender. So you surrendered to it, and it'll all show up at just the right time. And recently, my ooh, trucks on the road. One of my card decks, the Powered by Angels in Business for Leaders card deck. When I was creating the card decks, each of them, 14 archangels, I did the whole set the first time, and it's like, this isn't right. Then I did the second deck, and I mean that deck took hundreds of hours. Then I took the second deck, and I did it again, and I'm looking at it going, oh, this isn't right. I couldn't figure out what it was. So I just know when that happens, you need to walk away. And I went and sat in my chair and meditated and just chilled out. And all of a sudden it came to me. The deck needed to be cultural. In other words, we see angels. All of us see angels in different cultures see them differently. And I started doing an angel from Israel, an angel from Africa, an angel from a Mexican angel, uh, you know, every single different color and different garbs. And it is such a fun deck to work with. The Asian angel, Archangel Haniel, oh my God, she is gorgeous. I just absolutely love him. And Archangel Michael, oh, he's so handsome. And they're all wearing different outfits to represent again the different cultures, and it is so much fun. So it's an international archangel deck, and it's because like you did, I knew something was wrong, and when I made that discovery, listened, it's just like my whole body just relaxed, and I had a blast making them after that.
Yeah. And
It's good.
I mean, and that's the whole thing. Everybody talks about, working and, the hustle and the grind and all this kind of stuff. And I absolutely refuse to use those words. And every time I'm on a page, if I'm in a Facebook group and all they're talking about is all the, hey, you have to hustle and grind if you're building your business and you do this,
No,
I'm out because I'm like,
me too.
no, if you're hustling and grinding, guess what? All you're doing is creating more resistance for what you want to create. You're never
Right.
going to be successful. And if you are successful, it's going to be a momentary success that you have. It's going to be like, great, I got this. And then all of a sudden you're going to be wondering, how come I can't sustain this? And it's like,
Yeah.
because it wasn't right. You can't do it that way.
And what you just described is my ideal client, because the people I work with have succeeded financially, they've succeeded in their projects, they've succeeded on getting to where they want to go. But then when they wake up in the morning, their feet hit the floor, and it's this: why am I not happy? I've achieved all my goals, but why am I not happy? What is happening here? And what you just said is usually what is happening. They hustled and hustled and hustled and hustled and hustled. And they were working so hard that they didn't give themselves time to breathe. And usually, what is lacking in that space is the intuitive, the spiritual, allowing the guidance to. I mean, there's one thing to hustle, there's one thing to put long hours in, as long as you're in that intuitive space and you are in that space of allowing things to flow, right?
Right.
Yeah, I can work 15 hours a day in that state. But when I'm working in that state where I am doing the hustle and the pushing and the pushing and the pushing, and things get hard, and that's what
Mhm.
creates burnout.
Exactly. So if you were going to give one tip or a couple tips to somebody who is in that state, what would you tell them?
Trust yourself. You're not trusting yourself when you're pushing that hard.
Mhm.
You are not trusting yourself. Listen to your intuition. Breathe into your heart. The heart organ is huge, and the quick shift zone, which is one of the gifts that I have for your audience, teaches you a 60-second exercise. In the beginning, it'll take you a little bit longer, but with practice, within 60 seconds, bam, you can step into a zone where your brain in the head is coherent with the brain in the heart, and that way you're working with two brains and things flow and things are easier, and you decrease cortisol levels and increase your DHEA levels. Cortisol is the hormone that adds weight. It can really affect your organs and your glands, creates foggy thinking. And it's cortisol over a lot of cortisol in the body is just too much. And what happens is we adapt to the different levels of cortisol.
Yeah.
So the more we practice this, we clear out the levels of cortisol that we have. And the DHEA comes up, which is the hormone that we want. So with practice, going into quick shift will help you to be in a very coherent state.
Yeah, and that's a great tip. And yes, I just put in so right here on the screen, quickshiftzone.com is where you go. It's a free gift, and it will help you get started. If you're in the mindset of, it really is, it is your ideal client, and it's like that's the person you're looking for, that person who is hustling and grinding, and that, because that was how we were taught.
Yes,
I will admit, that's what I used to do years ago, because that was what I was taught. I was taught you work hard, you hustle, you grind, you work as many hours as you possibly can in a given day, and you get it done. And then you wonder why I'm burnt out, why you're not happy, why everything else in life is falling apart. And it's because that doesn't work that way. That energy can only be sustained for so long, and then
that's
you
right.
burn out. And so this quick shift zone is the place you need to be to at least get started on,
Yes.
okay, I need a break. I need to do something different.
Yeah. I use this tool. I've been using this tool now for over 25 years, and it saved my life, quite honestly, because it's so simple you don't think it's working, but it really is. So, all of us have these smartwatches, you know.
Mhm.
So test yourself on your smartwatch using the quick shift zone. Quick shift. You're going to be very surprised on how your heart rate's going to adapt, your blood pressure is going to adapt, your oxygen levels are going to adapt. Use your smartwatch when you're using your quick shift, and you're going to be surprised at how it all falls into place.
Oh, that is so awesome. That is an amazing gift. Now, we are just about out of time. So if people want to get a hold of you, I know I also have your Facebook group listed here. So Prosperity Power Network is where you find Terry online. If you want to go connect up with her and her group. And I know she does lives and she has other cool stuff out in her group. You want to talk about what's in your group for people to find?
Sure. Right now, in the month of April, every day I'm doing a power shift session. And the power shift session, try saying that fast, power shift session. My tongue doesn't go that way. Um, the Every day I do a different topic. On Mondays we do shiftology. On Tuesdays we do unlock the power in you. On Wednesdays it's vision and vibes, which you'll see at 3, and it's at 3 p.m. every day, by the way. And then on Thursdays it's intuitive leadership, and then on Fridays it's powered by angels for leaders. And it's anywhere from 10 minutes to 18 minutes. It depends on what comes through. And I actually use my digital card decks with each one because they all have the same name. And it's about tapping into the energy of each of those topics and helping you shift to the next level. And it's about looking in the mirror and making very simple changes that can create a lot of big changes in your world and life.
That is amazing. And that's awesome that you are able to go live in your group and do all these different things and just provide so much value. So if you're wondering, wow, who is this Terry woman? I need to go check her out. Just go join our group. I mean, in 5 minutes, you're going to be like, if you're that hustle and grind person that needs to stop hustling and grinding and stop being burnt out, in 5 minutes, you're going to go, I need to chat with Terry because, she's the girl for me, So, and then her intuitiveleadership.com site, there is a wealth of information, including information on those card decks that she's talking about, because we could probably talk for like 2 hours here just on all of this stuff, and that's like just the overview because there's so much stuff. And so, is there anything, we are out of time. So is there anything extra that you want to add, or tips or comments, anything coming to you?
The moment you said that, I literally saw right in front of my, the words, believe in yourself. Bam.
That is a perfect note to end on. And here is that quickshiftZone.com. I will make sure all of this stuff is in the comments below the videos. And so thank you so much, Terry, for joining me today.
Even
on the road.
Even on the road.
And we will see you all next time on Coffee with Regina. Bye for now.